What is up, everybody? I thought I would make a strategy video today. This is going to be relatively similar to some of my other videos on strategy, but I really want to talk about the whys behind this approach, why it works, and really explain maybe a little bit more clearly the reasoning behind it, because I do think that sometimes a lot of strategy videos on YouTube you watch and people talk about patterns and double tops, reversals, fair value gaps, etc. And they don't really get into the whys. And I think the whys are actually more important because the more you understand what is going on to create your pattern, your edge, whatever, then the better you're going to be able to trade it. So I'm going to talk today about what I believe are the two kind of cleanest signals that price is going to do something. The two situations, I should say, that we see a big move. So the first situation is when we have trapped traders. I'm going to bring this over here. So a trapped trader, what does that look like? What you're typically going to find is, just get all this out of the way. You're typically going to find that price will, naturally set pretty key levels on its moves, and when a level kind of holds a bit more importance, it's been tagged a few times, or it's the high of day or the pre-market high, and you get a move up here, and you get a setup that right, that people are going to want to take. Like, we've got a really nice little bull flag here, so we can see we've got a nice area of resistance, flat top breakout, we've got a nice flag. We can be pretty certain there's going to be a lot of people buying this. If you're looking at this saying this is a very bullish pattern, yeah, this is something that can lead to a bullish move, and therefore lots of people are going to be looking at it. And if you get some sort of price action like this, then what you're gonna begin to, or what we're starting to see, is that, I'll change the color of this, is that we have a lot of traders who have tried to buy up here at different points, whether they've bought the initial break, a pullback, this high or low, but we've got a lot of traders who are now trapped. Now the thing is, if this doesn't go any higher, we're going to have a bit of an imbalance between people who are long and people who are short, and there's going to be a lot more people long than there are short. And what this means is that when we begin to sell off, we're going to kind of reach a point, and when that point gets broken, we're going to get a significant move. And this significant move is essentially caused by all of those people who got long earlier on. It's caused by essentially all of their stops going off at different points. It kind of creates a little bit of a waterfall effect. And then on top of that, you have short sellers coming in, trading the momentum. So the first pattern that I really like to look for is when we have trapped traders. I think it's probably one of the most reliable, quick, aggressive moves that you can get. If you can identify the level at which price is going to start selling off from, you're going to be able to catch a really nice move. The second situation is when we have a market that is clearly trending higher or lower, and it's pretty clear, I think, that we can try to go long. Buyers have control of this. We should be looking for opportunities to go long. But just buying any old pullback doesn't really work traditionally, because you don't know when the buyers have control. So if we look at this like pattern here, for example, each one of these pullbacks you could have bought, but at any point you could have bought this and it sold off more. And often people don't really see a trend until it's already kind of gone a bit too far. They're a little bit wary to catch it. So what I like to do instead is say, okay, let's see if we get a pullback into a previous area of support. And that's going to act for me as my kind of like, testing point, right? This is the moment where I'm like, okay, either the buyers are going to, stay in control and hold this level, or the sellers are going to come in, take it out, and then we're going to see a reversal, right? Which is actually probably another approach that you could look for, but I include this in reversals as well, because I kind of consider this a reversal of this move here. So we come into this previous area of support, we're uptrending, and we hold it. So this is telling me, okay, buyers have control, and anybody who was trying to sell in here, they're kind of trapped as well. But more importantly, if there's buyers in control here and they're holding up a level, it means that there's going to be more people likely to come in later on as well. So in this instance, we can see that we got a hold the level, a push higher, confirmation that buyers are still in control, and a continuation. And then, as I said, there's a similar approach as well, which is if you have, let's say we've got bearish market, we're coming down, and let's say we've got this as a previous area of support, say it's the pre-market low or whatever, and we hold, and now we put in a higher low. This to me is kind of exactly the same idea where we're going, okay, is this an area where we have buyers from before, they coming back? If they are and they hold it, then the sellers can't continue lower, then we could return to a bullish market. And if we get that push higher and hold, confirming strength, then we are likely to get a move higher. So these are really the main patterns, I suppose, that I look for, but the understanding behind it is really important. So let's now have a look at some actual examples. We'll start off with a, let's think, we will start off with a trap. Okay. So this here, if you want to follow along, by the way, I use the 800 tick chart. The only indicator I have on my chart is the 50 EMA, and I'm looking at the NASDAQ NQ. And this was February 1st. So if you're watching this one in the future, it's NQ0324 on NinjaTrader. So let's have a look and see, because this was a really good trap opportunity and it gave a really big move. So we can see here that we've got this area of previous resistance. And this really is telling me that this is where there's a lot of selling going on. Buyers couldn't get beyond that. And I think there's a lot of people who like to trade reversals who would look at this and say, you know what, we've got a really nice opportunity for a breakout here. Trade reversals like to trade breakouts. Say we've got a nice opportunity for a breakout here. And we end up putting in a higher low. Up until this point here, this looks like a very bullish setup. And you can see from the aggression we had here, lots of buyers came in. And crucially, we spent a long period over that kind of breakout area, trapping a lot of traders long. And when I see a trap like this, my approach is to now look for a point below the 50 EMA where we can consolidate, try to get bought back up, and if it fails, I'm assuming we're going to see a pretty big rollover. And here we can see exactly that. So we get below the 50 EMA, which is the yellow line on my chart. It comes down and we consolidate. And once we put in that consolidation period, I'm backing the fact that if we break this consolidation period, there's a pretty high probability that we're going to get a pretty aggressive sell-off, because we're going to have a lot of people stops below this area here. And people who have bought thinking this is the final pullback before ripping higher are going to put their stops there. And we can see that we got a crazy quick move. Like this it was like, we were trading at 17,340 at 10:48, and we traded down, just, what's that, 12 minutes later? 11 and a half minutes later, we're trading down at 17,264. So that's a 70-point move in just 10 minutes. And this is triggered by a lot of people's stops and then short sellers coming in with momentum. Another example as well that you may have seen was down here. So we had a low of day set up here. It's also the whole number of 17,300. There was some pre-market support as well. And we came into that level, and to be fair with this one, we did have some news, but we had that initial news reaction, and we continue to hold below the lows and look to move lower. So again, we have that really nice period where we've got lots of traders trapped. When they're trapped, there's lots of shorts trapped. Well, we're going to get a squeeze at some point, and we get above the 50 EMA, and we get that same consolidation style pattern here. And when that breaks, we can again back the fact that there's probably going to be a squeeze at some point. So as you can see, when that consolidation breaks, it was trading at 17,323 at 10:07. Within 3 minutes, it was trading at 17,357. So that's again a 30-something point move in a couple of minutes. And that's triggered by a lot of short sellers. You can be pretty certain there's a lot of shorts who had their stops in around this sort of like 17,335 area. So this is a very, very powerful setup. It's not one that you want to kind of look for all over the place. It's going to feel pretty obvious when it happens. It's, I think, for me, one of probably my favorite pattern, because the likelihood of getting a big move higher or a big move lower is pretty good. With a similar setup here, this was on, I believe this was Friday the 2nd, yep. So this one, slight variation on this in terms of the setup, but we can see we had this really nice kind of ascending triangle pattern that was forming up. And a lot of people, they'll just draw this and say, well, we got the breakdown. And for me, I look at this and I say, everybody looking at the market at this point would have probably been saying, this is going higher. We're going to get a pretty nice move to the upside. We've done everything we want to for a long. We've taken out the low of the pre-market lows and then ripped higher. We had a pullback, we had a slightly higher low, now we're starting to hold the 50 EMA. This was actually a long setup form, which we can get into in a second, but we had this push. This is the time, it's going to break out. We've got a lot of people buying up here. And then it fails to break out. And when it fails to break out, we can be pretty certain there's going to be a lot of people's stops down here somewhere. And we can see that, again, this one wasn't quite as big of a move, but it was still pretty big. If you'd have got short, even here, if you waited and got in around about 17,578, there was a 30-point move in the space of about a minute and 10 seconds, 30 points. Very easy and very predictable. So trap traders, look out for them. It's a very, very powerful setup. I would encourage you to not just use like a small move of a level, like, oh, we broke the level by a couple of ticks, we've got trap traders. Look more for situations where you have a clean break, you have a lot of, a long period of trading above that area or below that area. So that's trap traders. Now we'll move on to more, directional trading and more opportunities to look for longs in bullish markets. So and shorts in bearish markets. So if we come again, this is on Friday. So if we have a look at the overall market here, we can see that we have a pretty clear bullish move here. And in this instance, it's funnily enough, it tags the low of this move pretty much perfectly, which I tend to see when looking back happens a little bit too often for it to be a coincidence. So we've got a nice bullish trend here. So we should really be mostly looking for longs. I know we looked at a short here, but we should, once we've got this move established, we should really be looking for long opportunities. So where could they be? The first one, after we'd actually broken out this level, we had a pullback, and that pullback kind of matched up with the previous area of resistance, this whole area across here, this sort of like 615 area that had been previous resistance. So we've got resistance turning support. We're in a bullish market, so we're okay to use that previous resistance turning support. And then look at what we do. We get back above the 50 EMA. We begin to show some strength. So we've got indication that buyers are coming in. That's great. We've got some buyers that have come in. Now we've had that strong move up. And what I'm looking for is for it to pull back and for it to hold the 50 EMA area. When we begin holding the 50 EMA with a higher low, I've got everything kind of like aligned. I've got a bullish trend on the day. I've got a hold of support, which tells me that buyers came in here. We've got a strong push back over the 50 EMA, telling me buyers are still in control. And if we pull back and hold, then I'm pretty certain we're going to get a continuation move. And as you can see with this one, we pull back, and once this flag was broken, we had again a really clean move. That depends exactly how you trade this. Maybe you'd wait for it to put in this like mini pullback here, where I actually began holding the 50 EMA. Maybe you'd have even waited to take it up here once we got this clear hold. But we can clearly see we got a really nice hold of the 50 EMA, and from here, we were trading at 17,650. And we had to move all the way up to 17,750. So we had around about a 100-point move from there with a very small amount of risk, and it continued higher. Now the next opportunity, because getting in on these isn't always easy. Yes, you can buy pullbacks to the 50 EMA. It's something that you can do, but it's sometimes the 50 EMA works really well. In a really bearish market today, every pullback to the 50 EMA got sold. It was really nice, and then as it reversed, every pullback to 50 EMA got bought. Again, it was really nice, but it doesn't always work. There's going to be periods where it works really well, and then periods where it stops working. So if we look here, we now have this situation where we had this pullback and we held a previous area of support. So exactly the same concept. Are there buyers still in this market? Yes, they're holding up this area. This was a previous area as well as kind of resistance. We can see previous resistance turns support. We get back over the 50 EMA. The first opportunity that you could have taken here with this pullback holds the 50 EMA. Nice move up here. I pieced my positions out, so I'd have taken half out in this push here and then the rest out for break even. And then the next opportunity, which I think was just as good, we came down into that area again and we held it again. This is really strengthening the idea that there are buyers in the market. They're holding up. There aren't very many sellers. And when there aren't enough sellers to take out a previous level of support that isn't really particularly strong, this isn't like a major level. This is just where we pulled back to before. It's a real indicator that there's nobody looking to sell. And when there's nobody looking to sell, we've only got buyers. So we can see we got back above the 50 EMA very comfortably. We came down, we held it, we pushed higher. Your opportunity would be to get in around about this 17,722 area. We can see we've got this nice flag again. I typically use 3 candles for my flag. So there's your opportunity to get in. And again, a really clean move higher from 17,720. You get an easy 50-point move, up into this before any significant pullback. And then finally, one final example would be looking at previous key areas of support to see if buyers are there again. And we had this set up actually today on Monday, February 5th. So we had this pretty significant sell-off, in the morning. And for me, I'm never going to be able to take part of any of this because I don't have a strategy for it. We can see it does actually tag the 50 EMA multiple times. There were really nice sell-offs. It's just not the way I trade. Maybe in the future. But what I was waiting for to see if we could hold a previous area of key support. And we can see we did that yesterday, or Friday rather. We dipped into this level and held it twice, maybe even 3 times if you consider this here. So this sort of like 60s area. We tagged this area 3 times and then we ripped higher. So this was a key area of support from the day before. We came into that exact same area here. We held it again. And I'm not thinking at this point, oh, this is definitely going to be a reversal. What I'm thinking is, okay, there's buyers that have come in here. Are the sellers going to be able to continue to take us lower here? Are they going to overpower those buyers? Or is there going to be too much buying and therefore the sellers are going to have to get out of their positions? Combine that with the fact that we are in a particularly bullish market right now. We've had the last few weeks really since the start of the year, that sell-off at the start of the year, we've had this big push higher. We know that buyers are strong. We know that buyers have been in positions over the past few weeks where they've been able to dominate. So once they held that level and we got above the 50 EMA and we tried to get below it and held, tried to get below it and held, tried to get below it and held, for me this was a really clear opportunity to say, okay, if we begin pushing higher, I want to get involved in this. So we had that same breakout style pattern, opportunity to get in. I got in at 17,600.5 and you can see that this might be the bottom for a while. We might not see this price. If we take out the all-time highs over the next few days without pulling back to this area, I think we'll probably see 18,000 before we see this 17,600 level again, which is pretty crazy. This might have been the final big dip buy opportunity, who knows. But for a day trader, that's the opportunity to get in, and we can see I risked on this about 10 points. I expect it to go pretty quickly, and it gave an opportunity to lock in 30 points really within around about 12-13 minutes. So you get a 1 to 3 on that move. It's a pretty quick easy move, not too much stress involved. Like I said, I take half out for 10 points in this instance and the rest out for 30, so it was a really clean easy move, and we can see it then just continued higher. And this all comes about because we had the buyers holding up this level. They confirmed they were strong by getting back over the 50 EMA. They confirmed they were strong by holding the 50 EMA. And then we had that really clean move higher. And then one final example. I didn't take this trade frustratingly. It didn't give me the exact setup I liked. But from a theory point of view, it works exactly the same, I suppose. So we had this very strong move. It pulled back, tried to go again, pull back, and we can see we have that same kind of feeling here, or not quite the same as the trap traders, but we're getting that same kind of feeling that there's a lot of buyers here that are holding up the market, that are preventing it from going lower. That's telling me buyers are strong at this level. And once they got back above the 50 EMA convincingly, they pulled back. And like I said, for me, this pulled back a little bit too far, but it pulled back. It held the 50 EMA area. There was an opportunity to potentially get in back maybe over the break of 17,700, and it gave, again, a 45 point move. The risk on this could have been easily only 10 or 15 points, so very, very comfortable 3-4 to 1 move. So that's, you know, that is my strategy in a nutshell. So if you are following any of my previous videos, that maybe gives a bit more detail. But the key thing here is to really understand when you want to apply your strategy. Understand, okay, what am I looking, I'm not just looking for a pattern, what am I looking for in the chart that's telling me, are buyers strong? Are sellers strong? Have we got trap traders? Have we got, is there likely to be a short squeeze? Is there likely to be, lots of stops hit for long traders? What are we seeing? Because if you're just trading a random pattern, it's not going to work out often enough. You're going to have such a small edge. The real edge in the market comes from being able to understand the situation you're in by reading the chart, reading the tape, having that feeling when you've got trap traders, feeling when you've just got no more sellers left to sell and you've only got people buying at the lows, feeling when every pullback gets bought really easily because you're in an uptrend. Have that feel, have that sort of little bit extra to your trading. And then when you've got that feel of like, this is doing exactly what I want it to be doing, then look for your opportunity to get in. And whatever your strategy is, if you are particularly, if you're like, hey, I want to wait for there just to be a really strong trend. It's been a very bullish market right now, so I'm going to wait for a strong bullish trend to establish. We've got pullback to 50 MA, pullback to 50 MA. There were plenty of opportunities to catch these big moves, but it's important to understand the underlying context. So I hope that helped. If you enjoyed the video, found it useful, please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.